All right. We're starting with this timer screen which says "Time's up." So I'm just a little conscious of the next 30 minutes that we have. Also, quickly, Akash Batra work for Twitter in India. So today's topic is about is mobile engagement dead? And when we started discussing the topic, we wanted to make it a little provocative for sure. And given this session is about engagement, we have to make sure that the session is engaging, right? I mean, goes without saying. So we'll make it a little interesting. What we're going to do is, play this like a debate, right? What ends up happening in most of the panel discussions is we say, let's balance it out. This is also right. That is also right. We should probably do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But, as a panel, we said we will stay away from that, right? So here's how it's going to look like, and hopefully, we'll make it useful and engaging for everyone on the panel and for you guys as well. This is a debate, not the nation wants to know sort of a debate, much more civil. I've requested all my co-panelists to use constitutional language, and it's parliamentary language and not unparliamentary one. So that's what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is, as a moderator, I'll just set the context, and then I'm going to make sure these guys say what they have to say, right? So that's how it is. Let me set the context for this panel discussion. The word engagement, while most of us feel has been a sort of say invention of the digital world, that's not really true, right? I think if you even go back to fundamentals of marketing, engaging experiences which engage with the consumer have always been evaluated as one parameter for all marketing and advertising as well, because we know it drives, message recall, it drives effectiveness, it does overall deliver on results what it is, right? However, if I take you guys back to roughly about the 2011, 2012 era, or hopefully you guys remember that time, digital became as this whole new thing in the industry where we said digital is going to be social, conversational, digital is interactive, and digital allows you personalization, right? And there was fourth thing which was often discussed that time was this thing called engagement rate. Show of hands of people who remember engagement rate. Yeah, that's exactly the problem we're going to try to solve today, right? And we said engagement rate, and we said like comments, shares, is this new thing, divided by reach gives you engagement rate, and we said that's the new thing, right? Then things moved. One of the biggest thing which happened was mobile, right? And mobile phones obviously become ubiquitous, and a lot more people started accessing digital. That made digital is what it's called today, the reach medium, right? And when digital becomes a reach medium, what really happens is everyone just thinks about efficiency. How many people are actually reaching? Are you reaching on mobile, on desktop, and so on and so forth? And the worry that we have, and the reason we said we will do this discussion is, what happened to the engagement? What happened to the message quality? What happened to the whole interactivity? What happened to the whole personalization question that we had? That's the context, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is, and I'm just going to assume all of you guys are against the motion, and you will support me. So I would urge you, we will do about last 5-10 minutes questions. Please, just to make sure we get these guys to work hard, you guys ask questions where we push them back about, remember, you're against the motion, which means, you're in favor of the motion, which means mobile engagement is dead, right? Okay, so here's we start, right? So opening comments, right? So what we're going to do is a couple of minutes each, if all my wonderful panelists, which I still want to introduce, sorry. Sumit, CMO for InfoEdge, parent brand for Naukri, 99 Acres, and some phenomenal marketing advertising work that they do. Nikhil heads marketing for Droom, the largest used car marketplace. Did I get that right? Swagat, dear friend, he runs Schmitten. It's one of the largest platforms for trial and discovery of luxury and lifestyle products. Thanks, Swagat. Arvind is the managing director for BBH, and I was just telling him while we're on the thing, interestingly, I had a panel last time, and Subhash from BBH was sitting in exactly that chair. So I think I've always liked to put, exactly, and I know my intention is always to put BBH in a tight spot, and he's going to be on a tight spot today, right? Sorry, so I'm going to come back to the discussion. Nation wants to know, 2 minutes of your opening comments, what do you think engagement is? Tell us what the impact of engagement on business is, and why do you think engagement is not dead? Please.
So I'm going to talk on the mobile context, yeah. Because as you rightly said, engagement is an old term, and as marketeers or as business owners, we've always wanted engaged users, right? Our businesses are all on the internet. And what we saw actually was very interestingly that once the mobile came in, when you started, you didn't really feel that the person on the mobile was more engaged than the person on a desktop, right? Because ultimately they were both digital, they were using internet. But there were a lot of things that we needed to do on this screen, not only because it was a small size, but because the mindset of when you are maybe on a small screen versus when you're on a larger screen is also different. So behaviorally, we kept this in mind. We've got a lot of registration forms, etc. First, whether it's Naukri or Jeevan Sathi, we could make it more conversational. Thanks to the mobile today, we have far more enriched profiles, because if you kind of make it conversational and have a step-by-step approach, which mobile allows you to do, I think people give you just so much more information, right? You also touched upon personalization. With the apps, it became very easy to personalize because a lot of people were now logged in all the time. You knew so much more about them. So today, what has happened is in businesses, especially like ours, we feel that the mobile has helped us serve people better. And when you serve people better, there is a feedback loop that is coming back. So while the feedback existed in desktop, I think the way to engage in mobile is different. So a lot of us, business owners, brand owners, I think what is important is keep the mindset in mind and don't just plaster the same thing, because even on things like your forms, your search feeds, your SRPs, your logo units, you need to kind of be careful. So I think the whole UI UX piece is also very important.
Super. So 2 points which I'm going to pick up and which I'm going to debate with you on is served. You said if you deliver good, right service, and the other thing that you said was mindset, right? And those are absolute critical for delivering superior engagement on mobile, right? Thank you. Nikhil?
Yeah, I would say that having come from a more traditional brand marketing background of TV and radio and stuff, mobile is a medium which is much, much more engaging, or the possibilities are there where it can be much, much more engaging, but we have to explore those possibilities. The reason why I say that is because for a lot of times we have been using mobile as a replication of a TV screen, but a smaller TV screen. However, the mobile in itself is a much more stronger device. The feedback mechanism which is built in makes it much, much more active. And to pick up the point which even Sumit mentioned, the fact that the mindset in which the consumer is when they're interacting with a mobile versus a TV are significantly different. And when they're interacting with a mobile, their engagement levels are far higher compared to what you can get in any other platform, right? And we were speaking about this, that, it's almost like while TV could be a third party, mobile is actually closer, probably like a wife, probably a mobile knows about me much more than what my wife even does. So I think it's also the mindset which has to change as to what are the parts that mobile technology is offering us that can be explored, which goes just beyond looking at it as a medium through which we are pushing out advertising. So there are much more things which can make it engaging, and there are examples also which have done that.
Sure. So Nikhil, again, I still can't take the wife thing out. I think that's a debate we're going to have with your wife. But as you said, mobile offers you much more, right? I think it's not the sort of usual signals that you get, and you want to make sure that has to be leveraged for sure. Swagat, up to you next. And I think given we're an app, right? I mean, that's the platform. I want to understand, also touch a little bit about how do you see the impact of any engagement-like activity that you do? How does it impact directly to how you measure success for your platform?
Yeah. See, being an app business, and we tell ourselves that 1 square centimeter is actually the most expensive real estate in the world. Because unfortunately, if you see the global data also, 80% of the apps actually gets uninstalled within the 90 days of installation. Almost 25% of the apps gets uninstalled immediately after installation. And we also believe that if an app is not opened in 7 days, there is a 90% likelihood that the person is going to uninstall you. And to Nikhil's point of mobile being the wife, we actually truly believe that mobile is a real person. And just when you meet a real person, you are not going to have the same conversation over and over, right? So when you come to a mobile screen, you're having a very one-on-one personal engagement. So we believe that the UX also has to be a real person for any business who is on mobile. And hence our approach has been always that how can we make the UX interesting and new every time the user kind of comes into us. And that's truly engagement metrics because what we believe is today the user is, and this is something I was telling Sumit, a very interesting article I recently read, that when you're depressed or like feeling low, they advise you that, okay, you watch the same content on mobile versus watching it on a TV, because TV is essentially a very passive viewing. And when you're actually watching the same content on mobile, psychologically you feel in control. So the engagement expectation on a mobile device is very different from a consumer, and hence as a business we have to understand. And for us, I think being a lifestyle business, engagement has been the bread and butter for us.
Sure. So, I mean, Swagat's made it better. Mobile phone is actually a human being, right? And sometimes behaves like one also. Yeah, something which we're not very happy about. Arvind, right? I think I'm also going to push you a little bit, saying, this whole space of engaging experiences has been, a little bit of a domain that the marketing advertising agencies have always owned, right? Give us a perspective about how you see engagement in general, and then the impact of leveraging opportunities that you have on, digital and mobile in leveraging engagement.
Oh, sure. I think engagement is fundamentally a human concept, right? It's about connection. I don't think that fundamentally changes. How it's manifested may change with every medium. So fundamentally, it's about something provocative that causes an action or a reaction or a way to record that, right? And when we sort of look at anything on the mobile or digital sort of front as well, it is to sort of say that where in the funnel is this piece going to play out? Therefore, what is the appropriate reaction or appropriate action that we need to take? But the approach generally is to convert a business problem into a human problem, because I think what we sort of deal in or what we bring to the table is essentially translating that business task into a human problem, and therefore create something that will evoke that action in that sense. And that's the way we sort of approach it, right? But it is an interesting thing in that, I mean, when you say that, when you look at the topic, what we get at the end of all of these discussions is that performance is trying very hard to kill engagement.
To create engagement.
To kill engagement.
To kill engagement.
Right?
Okay.
Because you do have that battle that sort of happens. So it'll be, I'd be sort of lying if I say that tension doesn't exist, right? But that tension is there, but there is something to learn in sort of how you evolve that comms over, over the years or something like that. But there is also a lot that needs to go back into performance, because I think engagement is necessarily important to drive better results.
Super. The point that I'm mentioning is, if the fundamental objective of any marketing activity is to drive action, the word that you used, therefore every stimulus that you offer to the consumer or user has to drive some sort of an action. And that action typically will happen if there is engagement built into it, right? Okay, interesting. Starting, sort of say, good commentary. I'm glad nobody interrupted anyone else. So the next question, okay? Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of Byron Sharp, and he talks about how brands grow. He talks about two things. One, he talks about mental availability, where he says, as long as people just remember top of mind your brand when they're making a decision, they will choose your brand, right? Therefore, why can't I just go back and start showing everyone what my brand is? And keep popping that, message saying, please buy me, and this is what I'm good at, that's all. Why do I put effort in trying to build any sort of engagement, right?
So I think the funnel doesn't change, right? The basic principles of marketing remain the same. However, I think the mobile, the tabs, the desktop have just complicated lives, right?
For us, marketers.
For us, yes, absolutely. Because everybody's interacting with every medium differently. So it's kind of given us a great opportunity as well, because while I have one communication, which is my thematic, brand stands for XYZ, and that is what I've created for the big screen, which is TV. Most of us, when we started on our journey, used the same thing on video, you know. And we thought that it'll work, right? Because it has all the brand ethos. It's doing very well on TV, so the metrics on TV are very rewarding. Why is it that we're not getting the same kind of impact on, and I won't say just mobile, but digital, right? And we went through the same, and I think we're still going through the journey. But we did a lot of experiments, and we realized that, and we did a lot of consumer work, and we realized that the mindset, as you kind of mentioned, is very different. The impatience levels are very high, right? We grew up with TV as the medium where we thought the place to see ads in an AV format is TV. So you associated in your mind TV with good advertising. You know, there is a lot of ad avoidance, but at the same time, we expect to see some good work there, and we're patient. We grew up with digital, thinking this is non-intrusive, quick, fast. You know, we couldn't even wait for the buffering when YouTube and all started a couple of years ago. So your patience levels are different. Where are you in the funnel? And therefore, as brands, are we really thinking of using this as an opportunity to create the right communication for the person, where the person lies? So what we're trying to do now is, while this is my Toma creating, you know, communication, the digital allows me to segment my users, sure, right? So if there is an in-market user, all I need to do is get conversion, right? Why am I creating awareness communication and expecting it to work, sure, right? So I think a lot of us are on that journey. Also on the other side, you know, which is a lot of the strategy and creative partners that we have worked for years, did not understand that well. And the reason being that the place there where they were trying to help us was really the packaging and the top of mind, the awareness piece. Whereas you know, as you come down and further into the funnel, we were using other technologies and other mediums of marketing earlier. So I personally feel, as you said, one, keep the mindset in mind. Secondly, use it to give out different messages, because that is when you start seeing impact. Sure. You know, just the same thing plastered. I mean, we kind of tried a lot and with different kinds of targeting and different kinds of duration, but just the same thing, snacking it into a small little, you know, bite doesn't really work. You need to kind of keep the basic principles of what I should say to him or her, depending on where they are in the journey, and I'm sure there's impact that one can see.
Sure. So, Arvind, even if I have to agree remotely with what Sumit said, I want to bring this up, saying, you know, even if Sumit believes that there is value in going down the funnel and then driving engagement for results, but her point is, which I think I agree, that the agency ecosystem or the advertising ecosystem is just not ready. Why do it? Why put so much of effort?
Sure. Thanks. Thank you. So I think over time, especially I think over the last 5 years, that has changed drastically. I'd actually see the change visibly all around us. And I think I'd sort of like to take it back to that question that you had around, you know, Byron Sharp's theory of, you know, let's show this everywhere, and that's sort of now dominating the marketing discourse almost, and how we all function. I think the other thing that he says is about building quality memory structures, right? And I think that really is what's important over here, because I think when you look at mobile and mobile engagement, it's deeper, better, more immersive quality experiences that allow you to build much stronger memory structures, rather than, you know, I'd still love to do those big pieces which are top of the funnel, but sort of pulling something from there and having an ecosystem that's ready to deliver. Because it's not the same thing, right? I mean, we keep saying that as the size of the screen becomes smaller, the budget keeps becoming smaller, right? And I think the ecosystem and everybody now has realized that that's not the case. Just because your overall outlay, as you were saying, is smaller doesn't mean that therefore lesser investment needs to go in there. I think that is changing, and that's definitely helping bring in better talent, do better work, and sort of staff ourselves to turn those challenges around better through the funnel as well.
Sure. Okay, even if I have to remotely agree with what you just said, the question, and I think, you know, the discussion so far has been, what I say is still at a 10,000 feet level, right? I mean, I think one point that all of you guys have mentioned is how, you know, mobile and engagement almost go hand in hand. There's an opportunity for you to leverage it at the right part of the funnel, depending on what your objective is. But tell me more. right? I think tell me more specifically about how. What would an engagement on a mobile phone look like, right? And I mean, the reason I want to bring that up is because otherwise, I think for us to say engagement is important without showing the proof to me and to all of you that it really matters and it can be done will be great. Love to hear examples. I know, Nikhil, if we can start with you in how you think mobile has been leveraged really well to drive engagement, which resulted in good business results.
So, if I were to break down engagement into its most basic pieces, I would say that it's a system which understands you very well, is able to predict the needs that you're going to come up with even before you were to air them out. Almost can work step in step, can give you the right solutions. So from that perspective, I would say that some of the best utilities that we're using currently on the web, like for example Google app to an extent. I mean, the way that a lot of our journeys start from the Google app, any question that you might have is first entered into Google app. They have been able to build that kind of engagement very, very well in my mind. So it's not a campaign per se, but I think that's the ultimate level of engagement which can be built up, that whatever you need, whatever question that you might have, you can just simply go into Google and you can ask them anything. The best part is that if you notice that when you are actually searching, so if you're interested, depending on the kind of interest you have, so let's say if you're searching for a name, the top 3 names that you will get will be from that particular specific area. For example, if you are interested in movies, the moment you start typing Jennifer, you'll get a Jennifer Aniston, you'll get a Jennifer somebody else, but you'll not get somebody from the Wall Street or somebody from else. And that keeps on changing. So in my mind, something which is engaging is something which is able to predict.
Very personalized.
And very personalized.
Sure. And I want to pick that point up and, Swagat to start with and Sumit, then for you to lean in, is given in your case, in both your cases, the amount of information that you have about the user is extremely high, right? And therefore, your ability to deliver personalization, as I would believe, Nikhil, you can deliver, right? So help me understand how you leverage that as an opportunity, the data that you have, to deliver a fairly personalized experience. And Swagat, we'll start with you, and Sumit, please lean in.
See, I'll divide the problem into 2 buckets, right? So one is probably reaching out to users where you don't have any data. So for example, new user acquisition, right? And it's a very interesting experimentation we did. So today, if you see any mobile ad, there is always a call to action. And many times people say that you have to have a call to action. We said that, okay, we will have ads which will only have a copy and no call to action. And we essentially started kind of targeting our peripheral audience, just kind of showing them ads with a very nice copy without any CTA. And then over a period of 3 months, we realized when we kind of start retargeting those people for a download campaign or to take any action, the cost of driving that action is almost half of what we probably would have spent when we would have attacked them directly to take that action. So I think a lot of people, the engagement in my mind is not just about having beautiful assets or kind of having a AR or a VR or a very kind of a interacting, two-way interacting kind of stuff. It is about small things you do. Today, till date, I don't understand, sorry Arvind for this, but we spent weeks to write a copy of a print ad. How much time we spend to actually write the copy of a mobile display banner? Nobody cares. Like even brands don't care because of the sheer volume. The agencies also don't care because, okay, fine, it's a small thing. Print ad, everyone is seeing front page. Okay. So I think the problem is in both ends in terms of understanding how we can leverage mobile, even doing the same things for a better engagement. The next thing is, again, kind of thinking about your assets. Like, for example, video. Today, unfortunately, a YouTube video is a specific format. When you're shooting a video in a 4K camera, it comes in a specific format, and then you're adapting and all. But today, there are 20 different types of screens, like Instagram video, Insta stories. Are your videos geared up for Insta stories? Because otherwise, I'm showing, like today, if you see, 99% of the brands who are advertising on Instagram, you will be seeing like a probably quarter of a screen with the video, because the video size is not adapted to Instagram's specification, and you can actually show the video ad in 3/4 of the screen and the full screen. So these are the fundamental challenges we are, I think, facing as an industry in terms of understanding mobile engagement. And I think all of us have to come together, and we have tried kind of spending a lot of time in designing these creative assets, but beyond a point for a business also, it becomes a little difficult if the ecosystem is not ready.
Super, Sumit.
So, okay, let me just take an example from Naukri.
please.
Maybe. So the challenge we're facing is really that the consumer has got used to, just as Nikhil said, the Facebooks and the Googles of the world. He gave a
And
lovely
Twitter, sorry.
example. And Twitter, sorry. on personalization. So now two CVs look alike, but the expectation is you should know which companies I would like to apply to. So when we start talking to consumers and say, okay, what are the areas we can improve on, the first big area that comes out and has always come out has been relevance, right? But the whole definition of relevance today has changed. So while relevance earlier meant if I'm an engineer, I should get jobs which are suitable for engineering, today it's if I worked with X, Y, and Z, you should know that the companies that I'll apply to will only be these. Right? And that is not very easy for any algorithm to do. And thanks to, of course, machine learning and deep learning, etc. So how we started serving people is, we started it on the app, and now, of course, it's on all the three interfaces, is while you're applying and while you're searching and while you're spending time, on the fly, how do I change your SRP? And that's not very easy. Because the moment you came and searched for, say, whatever, brand manager, Bombay banks, right? Blah, tra. Now we need to read inside where all has he worked, because his expectation has become this, that if I've already done the HDFC and the ICICI, why do you think I'll do an Axis? So it's getting tougher because you need to actually get onto the qualitative and the psychological part, right? What is he thinking? Where will he go? And that is what we're now trying to do.
Sure. So important point, I just want to highlight what he said was, engagement is not only about brand or advertising. It's about, and I'm going to going back to the word that he said, it's the service and the way you offer it, right? And I think that's as much as an important brand experience than a piece of advertising, right? Okay, last question, because then I want to have a couple of minutes to ask questions, is, again, I'm going a little narrower. Would you choose platforms on digital to decide which platform delivers what, right? Would you choose a certain set of platforms because you believe they deliver more reach? Or would you choose a certain set of platforms because they deliver more engagement and conversation? And if you do that, how do you kind of decide what message should go where and what should be the output of that? Sumit, again, can we start that? Just go to...
So we would, we would. Like I said a little earlier, depending on whether it is reach communication, or is it a hybrid between performance and reach, or is it purely performance, because you've got all options, we would kind of tweak our message, and we're kind of very mindful of that.
Yeah, I think we do that already, like to what Sumit also said. I would just bring out a challenge over there is that when you're using, because depending on what funnel, or what stage of the funnel you're at, I think the challenge really there is how do you integrate it all together? Because while you're taking the consumer through the entire funnel, it's a single consumer. So you have to have an understanding of where that consumer lies right now. So I think it's about linking them together.
Sure.
That would be a big challenge, but of course, yes.
Sure. So Agat, a choice between what delivers reach, what delivers engagement and conversations.
Yeah, I don't think it's a platform choice, it's a content choice. So in the same platform, like for example in ET News, if I'm serving an ad, somebody reading a news about a bomb attack, the kind of ad the person would be willing to engage versus somebody just reading out a general lifestyle retail study. Their ability and their intent to absorb some other content apart from what they are in the journey is a lot better. So I think it's the type of content you make a choice on, not on the platform.
That's amazing. So what really matters is the, Arvind, I think I'm saying what you're going to say, message and message quality, and not so much, the medium. Arvind, if you want to say that again, I'm okay.
No, so I think the only other piece that I'd sort of add to that is that looking at it more from an effectiveness standpoint and not just from an efficiency standpoint. Sure. Right? I think that's an important lens to have, right? Which is, if we have that outline view, then the focus is on creating an extraordinary journey. It's not about, I also think that reach versus engagement is an artificial choice. I think every piece that you create everywhere through needs to be engaging necessarily in the old definition of engagement, right? And then of course reach where it's needed, sharpness where it's needed. That's the way I think it will sort of flow.
Sure. So just last round the table, there's a gun on your head. You have to choose between reach and engagement. What will be your choice? Only one answer, and depends is not an option. Samit, last question.
Engagement.
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 Can
Hands
I
down.
say reach? No, engagement.
Thank you very much. I just have time for 2 questions. I'm actually convinced it's engagement. Let's not forget, message and message quality matters more than the medium that you choose. And therefore, it's extremely important for you to keep that in mind. Wonderful Kavya is already showing me her hand, which she always does every year. I'm still going to take one question, just one question if it's okay. If anyone has a burning point to make or a comment to make or a question to ask. I don't see any hands, so it just feels like all of you guys are equally convinced. And Kavya is smiling, so we will call this a panel. Thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully see you after this. Yep, bye-bye.